It's remarkable how we've spent the past 3 months being told obsessively that Sonic Crossworlds was gonna be big, that it was gonna be better than Mario Kart, that this was gonna be a huge deal, that this game had Avatar: The Last Airbender, Hatsune Miku, Pac-Man, and Mega Man in it. This was supposed to be an industry-defining thing, the best kart racer released this year, and nobody cares. Sonic Crossworlds has come out to absolute crickets. The very few who have played this game have to deal with weird visuals, just mediocre gameplay, poor track design, and the simple fact of the matter that is that this game is not as sophisticated as Mario Kart World. Good luck getting any of these people to admit that because so many of these people only hyped up Crossworlds to begin with to kind of downplay Mario Kart World. But it does need to be said is that Mario Kart World was way bigger than the community wanted to admit. Sonic Crossworlds being a mediocre new entry from a F-list IP, Sonic the Hedgehog, could not possibly compete. You know, Mario Kart World and the backlash towards it has been an absolute abomination. It needs to be understood more that Mario Kart World is more than a success story. It is going to go on to be one of the most successful games on Nintendo Switch 2. And this isn't me being hyperbolic or exaggerating. Like, this game clearly, right off the gate, was very, very, very successful. But what we saw was just everyone bending over backwards to kind of deny it. You know, you had people complaining about the content. You had people complaining about the open world, the track design, the intermissions. You had people saying that the game had no content, that the online is dead. Hey, newsflash. Like, I played the game last night. Okay, I played Mario Kart World last night, almost 4 months after launch. 4 months after launch, I played Mario Kart World Online. Completely full lobby. Had a great time. Love the game. I've always enjoyed it. Like, this game is something people will come back to forever. And the simple fact of the matter is, like, the narrative that it wasn't doing very well, or that people weren't hyped, that people didn't like it, or that, like, this wasn't a big deal, it just completely imploded upon itself. But we're still in that phase where everyone is just refusing to admit it. Like with Donkey Kong Bonanza. We're still in this weird phase during the Switch 2's lifespan where people are still trying to gaslight you into thinking this thing is a failure or that nobody likes the games. We're seeing people like rise up against all these major first party exclusives while making up lies about the console, saying it isn't selling, saying that no one likes the game, saying that third party games aren't selling, saying that third party games can't run on the console. Like, we're seeing this near constantly. But Sonic Crossworlds is a really interesting situation because we had something that everyone knew right off the gate, right out of the gate, that it would not do as well as Mario Kart World, that nobody would play it, nobody would talk about it, nothing Sega could ever do would make it relevant or exciting, and we seriously went through this period where the developers were pushing this ad campaign, uh, downplaying Mario Kart World, and the audience just kind of ate it up. Like, oh man, Sega's back. This is the third good Sonic game in a row. Nintendo can't possibly compete with that. Like, they were running wild, ranting and raving about how this game was going to be some huge, major cultural thing. It was going to be this amazing, amazing experience, and in the end, it just wasn't. In the end, no one cares for it at all. And I do think we do need to spell out what's actually happening here because we do need to kind of establish the situation. We do kind of need to establish what's going on here. Like, it feels as if the most prominent point for Nintendo hate is just before a game comes out. Because after the game comes out, people have to evaluate by its own merits. Fans actually get to play it. People get become more defensive of the game. They can actually refute all the commonly held points. We saw this with like Tears of the Kingdom and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Princess Peach Showtime, Mario and Luigi Brothership. They came out, were initially hated by the community, and over time they started becoming more and more popular to the point where people have learned not to take people like Logan Plant or RGT85 or beat them up seriously. People who downplay these games cannot be taken seriously by the community. Like, they do it for clicks, they do it for attention. They don't actually play the games. They don't actually know anything about the games, but they're making these clickbait videos just for attention. They're doing it just for the views. And that's kind of the my mindset when it comes to why Sonic Crossworlds was so hyped up before release, only for it to flounder and be completely irrelevant on launch day, is that it had nothing to do with Crossworlds as a game. Nobody actually cares about Sonic the Hedgehog as an IP. Sonic the Hedgehog entire identity as a brand is just not being Mario. Like, that's it. Like, that is Sonic is the Power World of the 90s, where it's just a knockoff product that was hyped to naive, idiotic, stupid children and sold to them as just the cooler alternative to a much better property. That's basically what Sonic is that it is just a knockoff derivative product, that was just a complete embarrassment to video games, a complete embarrassment to entertainment, and yet has been promoted over the past several decades as this like major video game icon, even though Sonic has never, ever been able to compete with Mario. It just isn't going to happen. It's never going to happen. And we've seen this same song and dance play out for 30 years. And I say no more. I never want to hear Sonic's name again. I never want to hear people say that he's going to make a comeback or that he's just as big of a deal as Mario or that the games are good, because they're not. They never have been. The character is one of the defining symbols of everything wrong with video games. All hype and no actual substance. Sonic is a complete joke. And this specific release is a really genuinely good example as to why. Because it isn't about Sonic Racing Crossworlds. It isn't about this game being good or people being hyped for it. People just wanted an excuse to make fun of Mario. Sonic became a method of doing that. And that is something that absolutely needs to stop. This entire situation was just plain embarrassing and really should be studied as just an example of what Sonic fans do. Every single time a new Sonic game comes out, they do this thing where they just pretend it's way better than the last one and that it's worth getting excited over. And the answer is no. Like, these guys are just man children stuck in the 90s. These guys are cut from the same cloth as Chris Chan, someone who is suffering from arrested development and has never grown up or wanted to grow up or experience new and interesting things. Like, people love Sonic because they have always loved Sonic, and they have no real perspective. They have no real ability to grow and develop into functional adults. They obsess over Sonic because it's been around forever. And it has nothing to do with its actual quality. It has nothing to do with the games themselves. It has nothing to do with actually enjoying the brand. They love Sonic because Sonic has always been around when everyone else has abandoned them. In other words, they don't love Sonic. They just hate Mario and Nintendo and the people who love those brands. That's the mindset of the average Sonic fanboy, is that they don't love Sonic, they just hate Mario.